everybody. Happy Friday. This is Overpass Live. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now, we've been doing the live stream for the last few years. We try to do it every single Friday. And it's changing, man. It's changing. First of all, I'm trying out a new software today. Usually I'll use OBS. I'm using Ecamm Live, which I've seen a lot of YouTubers use, and I thought it might make things a little easier. So hopefully you guys can hear me. So let me know if you can't hear me to begin with. Also, dude, I'm like, and I'm doing it from my flat. Now, my flat is pretty swank. I really like it, but because of the pandemic and everything, I've got I've got my son living with me, so he's 22, and rather than have him walking around in the background, I thought I'll just do it from my bedroom. So I set up everything in the bedroom. So that's why it looks like I'm being held hostage in a video. That's why it looks like a terrorist hostage video where I'm like, please, they're treating me well. Just please comply with their demands, right? So that's what I'm doing. And also, if you saw the video today, I just got a cold, man. Last week on the live stream, I was getting a little bit of a cough and kind of the sore throat, and everybody was saying, hey man, you shouldn't go out, you need to isolate and everything. I was like, yeah, it's just a cold. And I still contend it's just a cold, but I've been waking up in the middle. First of all, can you guys hear me? All right, okay, cool. So I've been waking up in the middle of the night and like with coughing fits and just like keeping tissues and water bottle. Like, it's just your typical cold. I don't think I have a fever, although I don't have a thermometer, and buying a thermometer at the current time is like really difficult. I went into a chemist last week and asked if they had any thermometers, and she practically laughed at me. So what a strange time. So from the time of the last live stream, we've had Boris Johnson in the UK, we have Boris Johnson tell everybody, just stay home, right? Don't go out, stay home and everything. And that same night I drove out to Portsmouth to pick up my other son. So I've got one of them here, another one staying at his mother's house. And so, but it's been kind of nice. It's been kind of nice, although everything's kind of switched around. So, dude, when everything gets back to normal, when all of this blows over, which should be in about another 2 or 3 days, I would imagine. So who knows? Nobody knows how long it's gonna last. But when it does, then I got all these cool places to film around the flat and everything. But for now, I'm just sort of sitting in my bedroom, which is actually it just isn't so bad. So anyway, I just want to say hey to everybody. Hey, Fist007, your first one here. Good to been missing for the last live stream. So the last actually, can I click on this? Does that actually? So been last live stream for three weeks now. It's good to be back. Excellent. The first one here. Hey Eric, I've received. So we got this one from Ala Lol. Here we go. Ala Lol says, I received an app removal from Google Play Store. The reason for the violation was interfering with apps, third-party ads, or device functionality policy. They're telling me that ads associated with my broadcast must not interfere with other apps, ads, or the operation of the device, including system device, buttons, or ports. This includes overlays, companion functionality, and widgetized units. Ads must be only displayed within apps serving them. I removed all ads inside my app, then submitted it, but I also received the same email despite my app does not have any ads now. This is very strange. Did you face that problem before? No, I've never actually done anything which did an overlay over other types of apps, so I don't really know like the rules against that. But I would do is just keep appealing it because you're obviously in the right. So we got Mega Man is 6th. Cord Funk, yo Cord Funk says, hello, nice to see you got the scheduled stream set up. I know I did. I scheduled it like 20 minutes ago. So I'm like, you know what? I'll schedule the one for next week now. I'm finally learning how to do all this kind of stuff. I'm trying this new software and everything. How do you guys like the fact that I'm trying this new software called Ecamm Live? I usually use OBS, which is free, I've been using that for the last few years, and it works pretty well, unless the Mac upgrades make it stop working, which I've had so many trouble with it. So I'm trying something new this week. And the nice thing is I could show the stuff on the screen. So we got Leo here. Hope you're doing well. We can't hear you. Muffled sound. Is it muffled sound? Let me try to move this closer. Maybe we could do this. Is that any better? Rodrigo says sound is a bit low, but overall, so don't mess with it. All right, so I just mess with it. Got to go to the supermarket now. Wish me luck, guys. Good luck, Rodrigo. I wish I could go to the supermarket. I'm in isolation. You know what? it seems stupid because we're all supposed to stay home anyway, except to go to the supermarket or to go do the grocery shopping, to do run any errands or anything essential, or go exercising. And now that I'm in isolation for 2 weeks, I'm just I can't even go to the supermarket anymore, which is like, I could really use just like one little thing, and then although odds are they won't have it. That's a strange thing the last few weeks is like, ooh, I really fancy chili. I'm gonna go get stuff for chili, and you go out and you can find like nothing, like except for beef. So let's see. Fist 007 says, hope it's only a cold though. I think it is just a cold. Although the other night I woke up and with a coughing fit, and I was I genuinely I started thinking about, like, I started to get like panic a little bit. Not panic, but you're laying in bed and you're just thinking about, what if it is a coronavirus? What if I'm one of those people who just stops breathing? What if what if this, and my son comes in and finds me, and then if you've ever done that when you're like driving in the car or something, or you're like you start to play those things over and over again in your head. So a cold Corona beer. Yep. Cheers. Boris has a COVID. Yeah, that's something we found out this afternoon. So that that's kind of weird. I mean, it seems like so many people have it. Like, just well, I mean, and the thing is, there's no testing. Like, unless you're ill, unless you go in, there's no way of actually knowing if you have it. That's the weird thing about it. But yeah, he tested positive. Lynn Scott says, "Nice, you're still alive." I was gonna sing some Pearl Jam just there, but I will not. But yeah, I mean, it's not. I feel kind of silly to say. It feels silly to put myself in isolation because it's a cold. I've had colds before, but it's like that kind of thing. You're supposed to be really, really strict about these kind of things. So yeah, and so to be honest with you, I did go out to pick my son up from Portsmouth, and I had to stay in the car because people got really sketchy when you just like you clear your throat, right? And then there's like, whoosh. So yeah, I mean, yeah, we shouldn't mess around with that kind of stuff. Fist 007 says, but I don't know why, but Eric is always talking about Corona something. If it's not the Corona SDK, it's a coronavirus. I know, man. You know what? Corona beer, coronavirus. It's such. You know what? It's such a cool name too. Oh, well. Rodrigo says, everyone hit the like button. Well, thanks. Thanks very much. Is this annoying when I put the things on the screen here? I'm trying to think. Yeah, Mega Man says, I'm sure a lot of people already have the coronavirus. I know, it really is, considering that they're only testing people in hospital, in the UK at least, they're only testing people in hospital. So, if you're somebody who doesn't have a lot of symptoms, or if you have something that's like a cold, see, that's the thing. It's like, if I have it now, then, then that's, then I'm cool, because it's like, maybe I won't have the adverse, maybe I'll be one of those people who is like, doesn't really have the symptoms. But I don't want to give it to anybody else. But I'm just staying home and eating. I've been eating a lot, and you know what I've been doing? What I should be doing. Last night I forced myself to sit down and read a book. But what I have been doing is watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, which I haven't seen in ages. Going through and doing all that stuff. So smash the like button, fellas. Thank you everybody for smashing the like button. Question on the screen. Yeah, I know it's swank, isn't it? UK Baz says, "Sup, Eric? Sup, UK Baz." So so I'm set up with I don't have I have like all these desks and everything in the flat, but I'm sitting on the coffee table from the front room in my bedroom. So so if you don't see where I'm looking down, I'm looking at my computer, and I don't have the scrolling thing underneath saying hi Eric and all that stuff. I'll work on that for next time on this new software. Hoa Corp says, "Hi Eric, thanks for helping us." I don't think I'm helping anybody. Especially not this week. This week, all week, I'm like, I need to get a video done. But I've been working a contract for 3 days a week. And it's one of those, I had one of those days this week where, I don't know if you've ever had them, but like when you're working from home, it's like really difficult. If you're in an office working on somebody else's application and you have one of those days where just nothing works, where you're just like struggling, like every code sample says this should work, but it doesn't. And you rewrite the function and you rewrite it and you rewrite it. And you get to the end of the day and you think, damn, I have like hardly anything to show for this day. In an office, that's one thing. When you're doing it from home, you're like, dude, I could have been watching TV and the result would have been the same. Except I've been trying to do this thing. So I've been putting in extra hours just trying to get the thing. I've had this thing in Xamarin where I have a list view that was clicking through, and it wasn't clicking through to the page. It was just like a list view. you click on it to navigate, and everything said it should work. Every demonstration, everything, and it had to do with the flyout page that it was on, so which was which we could talk about Xamarin. Like Xamarin, I'm getting into Xamarin now. Xamarin Forms, and being back in the old days. Back in the old days where we used to use Silverlight, you see, well, the web was all the crazy back then. Back in the old days, we used to use Silverlight and using XAML, so I'm doing all that stuff. Now now I've done a lot of Ionic, I've done a lot of web-based stuff, or a lot of JavaScript frameworks and stuff, and it's just so easy. I'll have a div and a div on top of the div, and then I'll draw a circle on top of that, and I'll do that whatever. Or I'll just do an if statement, ng if on Ionic 1, whatever. Do an ng if, say display it if not, and then have these hideable sections. And on Xamarin, you have to have a value converter to display or whatever based on a value, and it's just so much more. I want to say that, well, I think it is more complex. I'm getting better at it as I go, but some things are really simple, and I think, oh, this is really cool, and other things are like, this is really convoluted the way this works. But I'll get there. Rafael asked Rodrigo, "Es de Portugal?" Let me try this. Oi, Rodrigo, es de Portugal? See, see, is it see? Flashy says, "Hi Eric, good to see you. Doing all right? I'm doing fine. Except for a cold. By the way, I may I might have to mute the microphone if I have to blow my nose or anything. It's been I don't want to make you guys ill or anything. I'm at that stage now of the cold where I'm just getting very leaky. I'll say that. I'm getting very leaky. Whereas before it was just a dry cough, which is what they kept warning us about. Let's see. Cornflake says, "Question on the screen really nice." I know, it is really nice, isn't it? This is one of the things. Every live stream I've done, I'm like 5 or 10 minutes back on the questions. So, Hoa Corp says, and I like the fact you said there's a problem with Apple and that your picture is Steve Jobs. So there's a problem with Apple developer program. They don't want to accept payment when I want to create a new dev account or renew an old account with a lot of dev, not just me. Really? Is it just something like, what do you mean they don't want to accept a payment? Like, are they, what kind of error are they giving you, Hoa Corp? Flashy says, "Eric, in regular times, are you doing a lot of sales work directly, face to face, or how do you get your client projects? Are you just adjusting your sales during this time?" So a lot of the client projects we do. So a few years ago, 10 years ago, it was over 10 years ago. It's like 14 years ago. I read actually it was an Audible audiobook called Inbound Marketing, and it talks a lot about content production in order so that you would have inbound marketing. So people would find you and they would come to you, and it made perfect sense to me. And that started me doing a lot more content stuff. But I also do have a lot of outreach type of stuff too. So. And I'm always two ways about this. The ideal client is an inbound client. They found a video, they did a Google search, they've done whatever, or recommendation or whatever, and they come through us through that way. That's the ideal one because we already know they need an app because they're looking for an app. They happen to find us. They don't come in cold, right? Whereas if I go out and do some cold calling, which I have done a little bit, or cold emailing, which we did back before GDPR, and lately at the beginning of this year we were doing cold, actually sending out letters. That's a lot more difficult because you don't know who needs an app. And a lot of times when you say, you know what, you should get an app, what they're thinking is a game. They're thinking, oh, I don't need a game. I don't need something like that. But so you have to sell them on it, right? So. And in terms of the inbound stuff, it seems to have been, it seems to have dried up a lot over the last few weeks for some reason. I think there's something in the news, right? But so that's my preference. If we get inbound stuff, that's also very passive. Like I don't consider myself a really good salesperson. In fact, I know I'm not a really good salesperson because I'm the kind of person who will talk themselves out of the job. Like I will talk myself out saying, "Hey, you know what you should have instead of an app? You should have this," and and I will refer them someplace else, especially if they see me coming through one of the videos, right? But when I do meet with, so we have a process. We have a process in place, which if somebody comes, either they phone up or they come through the website. Ideally, we try to get them to go through a form on our website. It makes it easier. I was kind of opposed to that to begin with, saying people don't want to fill in forms; they just want to pick up the phone. And then I thought, you know what? I hate picking up the phone. I don't want to call around on companies. I hate, like, if I ever have to call a plumber, last thing I want to do is pick up the phone and call up plumbers and say and have them say hello and nothing else. No prompts. Not like, what do you need? How can I help you? Nothing. Like, if you ever had to call, well, at least in where you call a plumber and they say hello, and it's like all down to you to explain to them why you need them, find out if they're actually the person you need, etc., etc., etc. So if they came through the website and filled in the form, it allowed us to ask a lot of the questions to begin with, and also preface a lot of stuff. So it would come through, and we would give a ballpark, just so I could do it, 10 o'clock at night. I could do it, whatever. So it would come through, and I would give a ballpark. Give a ballpark quote and say, based on what you gave me, it's either like they didn't give us enough information at all, or they gave us just a perfect amount of information. And then we do a ballpark. We just have like a formatted PDF document that goes out. And that's really just to say, you're either, we could do the app for you, but it's going to cost between this range of prices, right? And it's mainly because I hate asking for budgets. And I did have somebody convince me to put a budget drop down on there, or like radio buttons, saying just so that we could filter out the people who were just not even like. I think the lowest we went through was £5,000 for an app, which is and some people, they don't know, they have no idea how much it will cost. Some people think it'll cost 2,000. Some people think it'll cost 50,000, right? So we did put that in there, but I really didn't like it. Because it seemed like mainly because one of the people who recommended that I do that was to filter out the leads. And right, if somebody comes to me and say they need an app, and I say it's going to cost 8,000 or 10,000, right? That's fine. Like, and they're like, dude, I had no idea. That's like way too expensive or whatever. That's cool. And and it depends on the complexity of an app. Sometimes it can be even less, right? Sometimes it can be a lot more, right? But to me, it's like I would rather have that conversation and go through it. And sometimes they'll say, oh man, I can't afford that, and that just okay, I'm fine with that. That's why we ask, right? And we try, and everyone says it would be great if you had like a price list or something, but there's so many different variables at play, right? There's so many different things to ask. And I've seen calculators and stuff that do it, saying, do you need social media integration? Do you need this? Do you need that? Do you need that? And they give a calculation, right? But I don't see how that could work. But we were in a situation once where somebody came into the website and they put in, they had their budget. So when we did have the budget thing on there, their budget was like 20 to 30,000. I gave them a ballpark quote of 15 to 18, or no, it was even less than that. It was like, because it wasn't that hard. I was like thinking so I said I came in like lower than their budget, and then the person who recommended I do it was like, why, if they're willing to pay this much, why would you quote them less? And I'm thinking, well, if I don't want to be asking them the budget anyway. Things are going to cost as much as it does, and there was just something that I didn't like about it. So that's why I don't think I'm a very good salesperson. How's that for a tangent? It has nothing to do with the question you asked. So, Asaram Dry says, hi Eric, I'm new here. Just started a few app ventures. Awesome. Welcome to the club. So like when it comes to app ventures, I've had a bit of success on it, and I have to admit, I'm in a lull, like, because my account was suspended, and we're bringing all the apps back up. Some of my big apps are suspended, so I'm in a lull. But a lot of the people who are in the live stream, a lot of people who watch the channel, they're doing really well. So it's definitely welcome to the club, and keep working at it. Don't get discouraged easily. Raphael says, did you need to cut a cut in your employee's salary? No, not yet. No, I mean, I have a team in the Philippines, so it's, to me, so taking on the contract is a lot of it is allowing me to keep everybody. But it's like we're going to me. I'm thinking of like in the next few months, we're putting scaffolding around everything. We're not gonna overreach. The last thing I want to do is get desperate, right? I think there was a point before I took on the contract where desperation was making me make decisions I didn't want to make. It's tough when you, again, I talked about this before, where I had somebody come into my office and they're talking about an app that they need, and I give them a ballpark of, I think I give a ballpark of like 20 to 25,000, something like that. I mean, to me, it seemed high, right? Because they were just a startup, right? And they go, well, it is a bit high, whatever. And they come in and explain it to me. I'm like, I don't think you need an app. I think you should use Shopify, whatever. And basically, I talked myself out of the job, right? I was like, and it was, but there was that conflict in my head where I'm thinking, the desperation was like, I need to keep everybody paid. I need to keep everything going. This is before the virus, right? I need to keep everything going. I shouldn't have told them about the better option, the cheaper option, right? But I had to because because they trusted me, right? And I think it was that kind of thing, which I don't like being in that kind of situation. Now with the virus and everything, I'm gonna try my best to make sure that everybody still has their jobs going forward. But I do have this strange situation where we have clients who can't test their applications. We have clients who can't come back with feedback. We have developers who are saying, "Hey, we're finished with this. We need to be paid," right? And so I'm like in the middle. I'm like, I can't get the client to pay, right? And so it's this weird situation, which is very tough. It's tough to be in the middle of these kind of things. Um, at least your son will find you. Well, if I'm dead in the bed. Does running a business have an impact on your relationship with your partner? So, all right. So Silax, good question. I probably I did it. I mean, I'm separated now, so that's kind of a new thing in the last year or so. So yeah, I suppose so. I guess it does. I mean, it's difficult trying to see. I was married for 26 years, so I got married when I was 20. Right, and my wife and I, we have a great relationship. I mean, yeah, we have a great relationship now. It's even better now that we're separated. But it was, I mean, it was difficult. It is difficult when you've got. I mean, there are times where I was so stressed that it was physically manifest. Like I was tight in the shoulders, and it was just, I'm just like, God, there's times where everything goes really well, and there's times where everything's really hard, right? There's times where the kids need you. The kids are like, you're not spending enough time with us, and so you're trying to do that, and you're trying, and then your employees are saying, we need you to be on this meeting, we need you to do that, whatever, and then you have your clients that need stuff from you, and you're just like, dude, everyone needs something from you, and you're like, there's nobody you can turn to. You're just like, just that, and there's times where that gets really, really stressful, and I think it probably takes its toll on relationships, to be honest with you, Silax. What do you find? I mean, strange question you ask, but I think so. And there's also something that you're changing. You're like when you're running a business, you're learning new things all the time. You're trying to keep things going, and you're growing as a person, and then you're just trying to keep trying to do the same things. It's very different when life is different when you're going to be paid at the end of the month a certain amount. It might not be a large amount, but that you're going to be paid, as opposed to, I need to get this done so we get paid. I need to get this done so everything keeps going, right? If I got to keep the plate spinning, otherwise everything doesn't work. And the reason we do it is because it's rewarding. You have freedom, and you can you can potentially earn more. I mean, ideally you would earn more. I mean, but with that extra freedom that you get, you need to have a lot of discipline, and it's very easy to fall in the trap of binge watching Star Trek: The Next Generation at night. Let's see. Yabed Razak Treem says, you to you too. Apafelli is here. How's working from home? How many hours are you working during the COVID madness? So I'm working a lot, right? So I'm doing about the same amount of hours, but I have been sleeping a lot more during this. I think it's because I've had the cold, and I start to think I want my immune system to be good. The other night I did go out for a 7-mile run, and I was listening to Joe Rogan podcast, and they were talking about the virus and everything, and I started to worry about what if I got pneumonia? What if I get and I was like, why did I go out for this extra long run? I know I could go out to exercise once a day, but I'm sure they didn't mean go out and just kill yourself on a long run. So it was like, once I got home, I was fine, but I do like it. I like working from home. It's a bit it's a bit cluttered at the moment, just with everything going on, but I do like just being able to go into another room. I think the biggest thing, like when when you're working from home, especially if you have small kids or and you don't have your own space, having an office is really really good. Having a place you can go to and focus on your work, right? That's really really good. But there's also like you just need to. I mean, I saw like I'll have my iPad. I could check an email or whatever. But a lot of times I'll have stuff that's on an external hard drive in the office. Even though I have my laptop, there's sometimes there's just things I need. Like for me as an app developer, like usually it's a device. Like oh I need to test this on the Android device, but that's in the office or that's at home or I left it whatever. There's so many different like cables. The I mean usually I don't have a shortage of cables, but like if you have kids, those cables go missing. So like you're thinking, oh, where's my micro USB cable? Where's my USB-C cable? Where's my iOS cable? Where's my iOS with USB-C other end cable? So that's nice just having everything in one place. So I'm kind of liking it. Cody with Chips, are you able to do videos with quarantine going on while trying to work for your clients? That's one of the reasons why I haven't done much this week. So I'm only doing 3 days a week for the clients for one, and I still got after hours, but yeah, it is kind of one of those. It's one of those things. I mean, one nice thing is the client I'm working for exclusively for 3 days. They know that I have the YouTube channel. They know all that kind of stuff. I think the hard thing with the virus going on, doing the videos, is just going out. I want to go outside and film something, or I want to go, I want to go somewhere else and go out in the park. Especially it's been really nice weather this week, but just hanging out here. Google user says, message for humanity: don't kill wild animals that are not meant for human consumption. Yeah, you could argue that. Well, which animals are meant for human consumption? I mean, I'm not a vegan. I'm one of those people who's like, I think I would like to be a vegan so I could tell people I'm a vegan, but I just don't have the discipline. I've gone vegetarian like 3 times in my life, and the longest I lasted was about 6 weeks. It was like, yeah, screw this. But I have nothing but respect for people who can. But Ala Lal says, I'm appealing to that problem, but Google support is replying to me and telling me they do not know about this problem, and if they have the news, they will tell me. I think Corona ruined their system. That is weird. G. Henny says, hey, I was just watching your video you just uploaded today. Oh, cool. Has anyone noticed that their earnings have gone up since the coronavirus outbreak? Mine haven't. Mine have not. But I know somebody did say that they got a lot. One of the comments we had on there, I don't remember who it was, said that they got a lot more downloads, but their eCPM is down on their ads, so they're actually making less. But I think that's ultimately a good thing. Like it's the more downloads you have means the more momentum you'll get in the rankings and everything like that. So let's see. Cordfunk says, check out the show Last Man on Earth. Nothing to do with programming, but it's fun to watch when the whole Corona thing is going on. I started watching that back in January, way back before all this stuff. No, it was back. Yeah, it was back in January. Sophia says, oh, Sophia, is that your picture? Let's pray for the herd immunity. C'est la vie. Wow. Okay. REO. Was it REO Speedwagon or is it different? Yeah, see this how old I am. REO Speedwagon. Oh, the days. Hello, Eric from India. What do you think about Chinese virus? Sad or angry? What do you mean? Do we talk about this? About it being called the Chinese virus? I think we kind of all own it now. I think it's like because ideally we could all go back to one guy, probably one guy who ate whatever and then made the leap. But we all look at him if we really wanted to blame somebody, but he wouldn't have known, right? It is strange though, isn't it weird? I mean, Coder Python says, I've started doing Flutter apps now, and it's getting really good. I know. I'm doing Xamarin, and I wish I was doing Flutter. And it's I wonder if RezoCoder is going to show up today. Every time he shows up, so every time RezoCoder shows up in the live stream, everybody tells him how great he is, and I just have to read through all his. Hey, RezoCoder, you're awesome. Not like this Eric guy. Coding with Chip says, How are you doing this? A one by one live comment showing up in the video. That's cool. What's that called? So it's called Ecamm Live. I saw other YouTubers doing it, and that was the same thing. I'm like, how are they doing that? You know, and it's so it's like, so I'm on the paid version, it's 15 pounds a month, and it's actually much easier to do this. Every time I do the live stream, like if you ever see the live stream and you don't have the comments next to it, you're not gonna know what the hell I'm talking about. Let's see, Fist 7, Xamarin Power. I could dog Xamarin all day long. Well, yeah, I mean, you have to do it all day long because it takes that long to compile onto the device, doesn't it? No, that's not true. I mean, so I'm using two IDEs, Fist 007. I'm using Rider, which is a JetBrains one, because it's a lot like ReSharper and Visual Studio. And I'm also using Visual Studio for Mac, which Visual Studio for Mac has hot reload, kind of not as good as Flutter, but it does have hot reload, but Rider doesn't. So like Rider has the shortcut keys I like, so I'm trying to swap in between the two of them. But I do think that whole loading it onto the device each time, it is, or even in the simulator, it just slows down the whole process. But maybe there's a better way to do that. Rafael Rodriguez says, the startup oh man, I'm leaning forward. Oh, I want to show my age. The startup I work for decided to do a cut in everyone's salary after some people from Techstars had a conversation with all the Techstars alumni because they said the impact was huge for small businesses, for small companies. That sucks. I mean, I remember after the, it's hardly anything in comparison, but after the 2008 financial crisis, I was working for an investment bank. So that's the rest of that question. I was working for an investment bank, and they came to me and said, we need to cut all the contractors. We need to cut all contractors' rates by, I think it may have been 25%. I mean, it was a lot. And most contractors took it because it was a crisis. And I said I wouldn't do it. I'd rather just leave. And it wasn't because I really was just like, there's other contracts. I'm good. I could go to something else. Which, not about prima donna or whatever. But so I can understand it. And you know what? So for me, I know in the UK, they've got a government scheme where employees get 80% of what they would normally get, which sounds good. I mean, I wonder what the bureaucracy looks like at that. I mean, every time the government gets involved in anything, everything just kind of slows down and gets complicated. And I just hate dealing with all that paperwork and stuff. My team is in the Philippines, so we don't really have that. So I'm just trying to keep everything going, and a lot of it is because I've been busy. I've been working on the ground. Like I've got people with not a whole lot to do, but I'm trying to keep that going. So we might try to do a bit more stuff on social media and stuff, just so we could keep everyone busy. I hope. G. Henny says, how do people like Prince Charles and Boris having the corona when its average citizen doesn't? Isn't it a bit suspicious? Dude, they're one of the few who got tested, right? The reason all the celebrities we see so many celebrities with this thing, with Idris Elba and everything, is because they're at the front of the queue, right? They're like, hey, let's give you a test. Hey, we got tons of them, right? And the rest of us, we're just sitting in our flats thinking, oh, I hope I don't have it. If I do have it, I hope somebody tells me, right? I think that's why, right? And NJF is Angular stuff. I know, but I was thinking Ionic version 1 when I said that. Nice Portuguese. Yeah, you know what? I guess I'm a bit of a polyglot. No, my language is Chinese. I was a Chinese linguist back in the army. Well, 我替中国录，我替美国陆军翻译中文。Adam Major says, hi, I wish you all good health. I wish you good health too. Fist 007 says, the thing with Xamarin is all the proportions you need to grasp and be able to compute in your head before it actually works in your code. Yeah, another thing about doing something in Xamarin, or I think it's the same in native, where I always had a trouble in Ionic, was just the dimensions of it. Like, I don't want to scroll. I want something along the bottom border, which in HTML is a lot more difficult, and that kind of stuff. So, Cord Funk says, my favorite thing when I started doing Flutter was no more writing adapters for recycler viewers. Yeah, I think yeah, that was. I think that's the thing. I'm just, I'm going from XAML there's a code behind, and I'm making a change. If I make a change to the code behind, I need to recompile and redistribute, which takes about 20-30 seconds. But it's just like the feedback loop and everything's a bit slow. Nice thing with a hot reload on doing the XAML stuff when I'm using Visual Studio for Mac is that it hot reloads, but it's that sometimes doesn't work so well either. And whereas the Flutter, just you make a change, you just see it immediately, even on a device, and I think that's fantastic. Rafael Rodriguez says Brazil. Okay. Um, Xamarin Vis007 says Xamarin will not allow things to work accidentally like HTML does. Well, I know JavaScript is a dynamic language, which means you don't need to specify. You don't need to instantiate variables. That's why TypeScript is there, so that you can have the type safety. Have you started with the custom renderers yet? Yes, I am doing. Actually, no, custom renderers. No, I'm doing. I'm trying to do as much as I can in Xamarin Forms. So using the parent object. Uh, how's the virus affected your business? Do companies put projects on hold? So, yeah, I guess so. So I've got. So actually, I'm trying to say about this client without saying who they are. I got one client who's very, very much involved in all this stuff that's going on in the medical field, right? So we're doing something for them, which is dropped in priority a lot. So we've got developers still continuing on, but we really need their feedback on stuff. And so everybody's stressed. I'm stressed. The clients are stressed. The development companies are stressed because development companies are like, we need to pay our developers and we need to get payment from you, Eric, right? And I'm like, I need to get payment from my clients, right? I need to get them doing it. And the clients are like, we need to get payment for our customers. And it's just, everything is just sort of kind of difficult there. And yeah, I do have a lot of people who were thinking about doing an app are now rethinking it, which I kind of I see, I kind of get. Fist007 says, ow. I got an interesting question. How will you do prospecting meetings during this coronavirus time? Zoom, Skype meetings, over the phone, emails only? Well, one of the things that most of the time I would do meetings, prospecting meetings in person, which is a lot of overhead. So you drive 30, 40, 50 miles to sit in a coffee shop and discuss a project with somebody who doesn't really have the budget or really an idea what they want. They just have an idea. That could be very difficult. Even when they come visit the office, sometimes they'll be like, my office is a mess. I'll hire out one of the meeting rooms, and then that costs me also. So I try to do Zoom a lot more anyway, even without all this stuff going on. And I think the nice thing about one of the silver linings of this global pandemic where lots of people lose their lives is that people are learning how to use Skype and Zoom better, right? So hopefully at the end of all this crisis, when it all blows over, and hopefully it does, then we will people, the normal people, our grandmothers will all know how to use Zoom and Skype and all those video things. So we've got people here from Brazil, from Nepal. Really? Awesome. Raphael says, did you receive an email from Ionic saying Apple does not accept WebView-based apps anymore, but Ionic gave some steps to approve the apps? No, because I haven't released anything recently, but I have got one to say, because we were using UI WebView rather than WK WebView, and we did get something to say that has been, that is being deprecated. Yeah, but yeah, I haven't got that email, but it is interesting because I did a few years back where I said I'm worried about the fact that Ionic uses WebView and that Apple will start rejecting it, and I'm still worried about that. That's that's the big Achilles heel of that kind of stuff. And they asked me to, it was like I think a lot of you guys may have found this channel through that video because, I got like hundreds of thousands of views, and and everyone was like, you're just clickbaiting, you're just doing it, there is no problem, you're what is it, I'm spreading fear, uncertainty, and doubt, you're just doing whatever. I'm like, dude, I'm genuinely concerned that with all these projects out there, I don't want, like, if something like that were to happen and we've got all these Ionic apps, what are we going to do? Just tell our clients, too, sorry, Apple's kind of weird about these kind of things. But when really it was my decision to go down that route, so we had to make a decision to stop using them. But yeah, no, that's interesting to see. But I don't think I got that email. Maybe because I haven't released anything recently. Pascal Vlad says, how hard is it to live out of your own apps? How much money do you need to start doing this? Would you recommend it to a college student? I tried for 4 years, if possible, to never need a job. Yeah, I think we should. I mean, it's anything. So I was making about 3 or 4 grand a month, which there was a point where I could have stopped working altogether or stopped doing client work, but I kind of like wanted to do more, so I had a team. So once I brought on a team, then I had to pay them, and then it was like my cost started to outweigh what I was making. But every so often, especially when I would have like a difficult client meeting or a project running over, I would think to myself, dude, I could just like live off the app income. Now here's the thing about app income. You don't know how long it's going to last, right? You're like, wow, people are downloading and using my app, and the ads are doing well, but there's no security there. Like, as much as I like to think that I would just live off the app income, and then I would be on a beach and I would just relax, right? I'll be on I don't play golf, but if I did, I'll be on the golf course all day, right? But this actually happened to me, where I took my kids to see a movie. I think we went to go see, I think it was Skyfall. I think we went to go see James Bond Skyfall. This was quite a few years ago. And like on the way home, we're driving home, and we went to go get something to eat. And then as we're standing waiting to be seated at the restaurant, I look at my phone. I get an email from Google Play saying, "Oh, we've removed your ads because blah 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 blah," right? Placement or whatever. So I had to drop everything, because from that moment I was losing money. So I had to say, okay, forget going to dinner. Let's get home, because all of a sudden I've got this unknown, this loop or whatever that I got to do, right? That's the kind of thing, right? So like if I was sitting on the beach somewhere going, yeah, I'm just living off the app income, you never know. But that's the same with any job, right? I guess that's the same with any job, right? Anybody, despite the fact how secure they feel as an employee, their boss can walk in and say, we need to have a discussion, especially now. It's actually not a good time to talk about that. Silak says, oh, everybody, smash the like button. That's not what Silax says, but if Silax was listening, he'd say smash the like button. How many projects do you need to complete a year on average? Is it above average income? Do you need to share your you don't need to share your financial figures? So it depends. Like, there's some projects which should take a couple months, and they take a lot longer. Sometimes we get clients that just keep the scope creep keeps going and going, which can be difficult. And then there's other times where it's like a lot of time, and this is one of the things that we need to think about how we do it. I've talked with other development companies who are able to better control this. Like, a lot of times the holdup is not us, it's the client. So the client be like testing something, or making their payments and all that kind of stuff. A lot of times we're waiting for them, or they'll look at something and go, I was talking to the worst thing is the new idea. They'll bring in the new idea, which is scope creep, right? So you have to say, no, that's scope creep. And they're like, but I don't understand why that would be so difficult. It's like, yeah, I know, but if you understood how all this would work, you could code it yourself, right? But it's like, if it's a label change, dude, we're all over it. So instead of saying this, can you say this in that label? Dude, we're all over it. We're happy to help. And then but they'll add some structural change in, which is just, we have to change the database model. If we have a database model, we got to change the flow of the application, the menu structure, everything. And that's when it gets difficult. So so for a while I was trying to get like at least a new project a month. Sorry, at least one project a month. But and sometimes I would just turn down a project. I would turn down a project because, not because I didn't want the project, because we're like, dude, we're slammed. We just can't take it on. Zakrita says, hello. Hello. That's my response. Just hello. Jose Chagabar says, hi, Eric. I post my resume of Android developer and have a call for QA work. Fantastic. Good for you. Uh, what game engine for Android do you recommend? For Android, well, not Corona SDK. Don't do that one. I guess it would be oh, what is it? Not Coco 2DX, not Coco 2DX, but it's libgx, right? Or Unity. But Unity is a whole different language. So if you, I mean, if you wanted to stay, if you only want to do Android, that's one thing to think about. Uh, yes, nice segue. Zagrita says, advise me, should I develop in terms of apps that could be profitable? Please, thank you. Yeah, ideally, if you're going to develop apps, make profitable ones. But, I mean, yeah, no. No, it's very amicable. No. By the way, yeah, this, no. Uh, Google user says, as a lone developer, in my opinion, people asking to make apps for them on sites like Upwork pay you very less than what you can earn if you think you have a new idea and can sell your app directly. What do you say? Yeah, definitely. This is what I mean. I don't like Upwork because every time I've been on Upwork, the reason I'm on Upwork is because um, I'm looking for somebody who's inexpensive. I'm looking to get a job done, right? And when you go into Upwork, you're looking at the Upwork market. So everybody is lined up there, right? You're not going through every single profile and going, oh, he looks good. You're not going to say, this is the most expensive. I'm going to go with him because he's the most expensive. You're going to look at, well, you're not going to go for the most expensive guy, whatever. And yeah, I've never had a job through Upwork, so I've never been paid anything through Upwork. I have paid people through Upwork, and usually I'm going through. I mean, if you're a commodity developer, then yeah. But one of the things as a software developer you have to do is try to stand out from the crowd, right? If you're really good at what you do, you need to make sure people know you're really good at what you do by having a good portfolio. If you don't have a portfolio, then you're just the same as everybody else on Upwork who doesn't have a portfolio. If you have or I guess on Upwork it'll be the reviews and the previous projects and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, and I just think that people, I like I said, I've never actually gone on it for work. I mean, but in this climate, I mean, if people losing their jobs and they actually need the money, I mean, it doesn't hurt to go on and bid for some projects. Um, but yeah, uh, Leo Fonseca says, see what their attention to detail is. If they're sloppy, their development work will be crap. Yeah, oh yeah, in terms of the developers. Silak says, my wife understandably put pressure on me to get a job when my business wasn't going too great. Yeah, that's normal. I think that's normal. Like you're like working through chaos, right? There comes a time where like, dude, I wish I could say I didn't know what that was like. Silax. Yeah, your main responsibility. Oh, you guys can see the stuff in the corners of this room. Your main responsibility is to your family, right? So you try to keep track of them, and a lot of it is you have to show the confidence that everything is going well. It's really difficult because a lot of times one of the difficulties that I find is that your partner is your best friend. So if something's bothering you, that's who you share it with. But there's also you're also the one who has to provide. So you have to show the confidence that like, okay, things are tough, but we can get out of it. We can, things are going to get better. Now, ideally, you honestly believe that too, or you're not swinging for the fences. I see. When I got rid of my Mustang, which was a dark day for me. I used to have a Mustang, and it was like everything was going well. When I got rid of that, it was kind of just coming to terms with the fact that I realized that at some point I'm waiting for that bottom of the ninth grand slam, right? Which isn't going to happen. If you ever watch a baseball game, you're watching your team, you're thinking, and they're behind in the bottom of the ninth inning, and you're thinking, all they need is all they need to do is load up the bases and have 3 consecutive grand slams, and they'll win this thing, right? But that never happens, right? So the more you start looking for that miracle to show up, that you start thinking, okay, I need to be realistic here, and I start hedging my bets, which is, I know the whole thing with Will Smith, you don't need a plan B because it takes away from plan A. I know all that kind of stuff too, but there's still a thing where you're like, you got to go on life support and think, okay, I need, and taking on a job, what I would do is take on a contract or something if you can, something that's temporary. Or if you do take on a job, make sure that everybody knows, except your employer, everybody knows when you're leaving it. That way that you're held accountable to it. So like say I'm going to take on a job for 6 months. Um, take on a job for 6 months, take it on for a year, saying, okay, I'm taking this on for a year. But don't tell your employer that because they would never hire you, right? You're just like, when you're there, you're there. You're like you're the best thing since sliced bread. You're the best developer they've ever had. But, and you help their organization. I'm not just saying you do it for selfish reasons. You help their organization. But, you're not there to learn. You're not there for them to teach you things. You're not there to grow with the company. You're there to help them and to get paid. And then also get back to doing what you're doing. If that makes sense. That's my opinion. You guys could disagree, by the way. I know you guys probably all disagree. If you disagree, do the do thumbs down. I don't care. We have one thumbs down already. Because I always think the thumbs down is like, you know what, Eric, I disagree with that one thing. Or it's like, I hate Eric. Eric, he's so smug. Look at him with this stupid. Let's see. The knowledge mixture says, sir, I have developed an application where I took a grid view in my app and put questions from a database every day. Cool. And users going to see it. So is that application will be published? Yeah, that sounds like a normal application. So you put questions from users every day. Yeah, I don't see why it would not be published. Yeah, because that sounds like a normal application. You take something from a database and display it on the screen. Let's see. Silex says, not sure what would make things better, to be honest. Oh, in terms of your relationship, dude, it's difficult. I mean, it's difficult because you're driving the bus. You're the one in charge. You need to make sure that everybody is taken care of, right? But at the same time, you can't be afraid, right? You can't be afraid to do anything. If they lose confidence in you, if there's confidence lost in you, then then they are gonna, everybody's gonna start to get worried. And I'm guilty as this as everybody else. You talk to my team where like sometimes I'll have a wobble and I'll be like, things are just, oh my God, things are going so bad. I'm not, I don't even know if I can afford to keep you guys next month. And they're like, all of a sudden, like they're worried, and then everybody else is worried, and really, and I always wish I could take those back because, as much as I'm trying as hard as I can, I'm trying to make sure that everything goes right. It's not all about me, this business, but it is about me to some extent. It's like, I could do more than go in there. And, I'm not the slave. I'm not everybody's slave where I go in and I'm just a paycheck, right? But at the same time, if they're worried, I get that. I understand, like when, it's like, if you have somebody behind the wheel driving a car and they're drunk, right? You're like, dude, I hope I'm worried. I'm worried that we're that that things aren't going the way we can. Or if you ever have somebody driving a car and the road is really icy or whatever, not drunk, but they're icy, right? You're thinking, I hope his skills could get us through this, right? And you just have to say, everything's fine, we can do this, right? That's if you actually believe it. If you're not sure yourself, then do what you have to do. Start at least do something as a whatever. Ash Wilfley says, I used to run a lot. I carry a gun now. Why were you running? Leo Fonseca says, you're at the point where it's cheaper to keep her. Sorry to hear that. Oh. How far back are we on the question? Okay. So, K-Out says to Marina, my revenue is down 50%. Eesh. Knowledge Man says, love Pakistan. I'm a new app developer. Well, I like your talking style. Thank you. Although it's a bit. I learned much things from you. Will you support me? I want to be your student. I don't know what that means, but I just make videos. I'm just an app developer. I make apps. I'm not a teacher. Google uses, which software are you using to display your live comments on the screen? It's called Ecamm Live. So I just started to use it this week, so I'm kind of just getting used to it. Oh, Phil J says, Hey Eric, we finally moved to the UK and all hell breaks loose. What the hell? I know, that's what I'm thinking. I finally move. I move into my flat, and then there's like a worldwide pandemic that the world has never seen, and I'm stuck in it. But you know, I think everybody has a story. Like they're like, you know, dude, I finally had pizza for the first time, and look what happens. Like everybody's looking at it. Everybody's like blaming it on something else. How do you do the comment questions on live stream? Do you do video on live stream? Yeah, it's Ecamm Live. It's pretty good. Sophia says, "Why? What's wrong with my picture?" No, I just no, I just there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with your picture, Sophia. John Mullahan, stay safe. Keep the videos coming. Thanks. Let's see. Lynn Scott says, I'm working from home now. I'm pretty much enjoying it way more than I expected. Maybe it's time to look for a full time remote job after this crisis ends. Yeah, yeah, maybe. I'm pretty much enjoying it way more than I expected. Working from home now. Yeah, I mean, it's. I think we should all be like, as software developers. It just always seems silly to me that to go into an office and work on, like when I was a contractor, working, you know, going to an office, because I didn't really ever, I mean, not very often did I have remote work. So I would have like at home, I would have like a really high tech computer, right? Because I use it all the time. You get all you got the chair that works well for you. You got the desk. You got the music in the background. You got everything exactly the way you want to. And then you put on a suit. You get on a train. You spend an hour on the train. You go into an office and you sit down at some crappy little computer, and you know, and a chair that's been used by I don't know how many different butts before you, and you sit and it usually as a contractor you usually get the one that nobody else wants because as soon as the last guy left, everyone took his chair, and then you got the one that's all, you know, whatever, and you got the bad back problems and everything. So yeah, and you know you could do the same thing without all of that other stuff, working on a better computer, working remotely. So at least, yeah. And another thing, I think after this, after everything blows over, everyone will realize that many of us didn't have to be going into an office anyway. Um, Aleski Cortisalmi says, should I go to college next autumn or just try to build more apps and see how it goes and think about going to college next year? I think you should go to college and build apps. Right? I think you should, if that's what you want to do, right? Don't, I mean, because you could always, if you do it, if you get an app that does really well. I know college can be expensive. I mean, university can be expensive, but you have to think about. Uh, I think if you go to university, if your goal is to get a degree or to become a successful app developer, you're more likely to get a degree. Well, I mean, I guess it depends. I mean, the more you do it, I just think it's um, to me, being an app developer and getting a regular income where you could live off of it, it's not as easy as a lot of people think it is, right? But you can get that income in, so that passive income coming in, right? So, actually, I don't want to answer that question. What do the rest of you guys think? Yeah, the rest of you guys give Alexi some information. Um, Google uses. Do you think using cross-platform frameworks makes sense when you only have two mobile platforms to target, iOS and Android? I do. Yeah, I do actually, because and you may get more to begin with. I mean, yeah, it's difficult to do. I do think it makes sense. Willie says, "Do you have native ads? Do native ads had a higher eCPM than banner ads?" I've never used Willie. I've never used banner. I've never used native ads. I've used banner ads. I use banner ads loads, but I've never used a native ads. So I don't know. But from what I heard, is it does, or at least it should. Let's see. Um, I agree completely. I don't know what that means. Let's see. Google user says, "Do you think that?" Okay, that's we just answered that one. Jesse, how you coping with the isolation? I'm doing all right. You know, just you know, I'm doing. I'm only for me. You know, they really cracked down on it on Monday night, so we should only go out for essentials. But now I'm because I have this cold and the cough and everything. I'm self isolating for 14 days, so I can't even go to like the store and everything. So people bring me food. Um, what do you plan to learn slash do during the lockdown? Good question. So this is I have a bunch of books that I was like I'm gonna read this book. You know, like that's it. I'm gonna sit down and read this book, and I've been watching too much Netflix, and I need to get back into to the learning of some of this stuff. So I think the one thing I said last week was after this I want to have abs. All right, and now that I think about it, it's like other thing I'm doing is comfort eating. I'm thinking, well, I'm just So I think there's a bunch of books that I want to get through. I would say, and then the Xamarin is the one thing that I'm doing for the contract that I'm doing. So I'm trying to go through it and learn that. But it's kind of like because that would help. There's nothing more embarrassing. Like if you as a contractor, you don't want to be learning on the job. You want to have like come in with some sort of proficiency. You can't say somebody's paying you a lot of money. You can't say I watched the tutorial on how to do this. So I spend a lot of my free time watching tutorials and reading on that kind of stuff. So um, yeah, I think there's quite a lot I need to sit down and think about because we're already a couple weeks into it, and you know, I think yeah, we need to get something done. I'm to be honest with you, Jesse, I'm a bit shell shocked that when Google um, keeps suspending my apps, right? I think it's their algorithm has gone crazy, and so I'm thinking about the next app to put out, and every time I think of something, I'm thinking, oh, don't want to risk it. Court Funk says the whole Corona thing is going to be a great opportunity. There's going to be a lot of behavior change, so it will probably mean there will be an opening in the market for doing new stuff. I hope so. I think it'll be. I think in terms of mobile applications and stuff like that, I think you probably have a lot more tools used by surgeons and stuff, or medical professionals and everything. I mean, right now I'm sure that there's probably and I'm not saying this is an opportunity right now because I think like medical professionals are, they're really overstretched. They don't have time to learn anything new, and nobody wants to take advantage of this. But I think there's probably going to be lots of stuff that comes out which can increase the efficiency of all this kind of stuff. But yeah. Let's see. Lynn Scott says Xamarin has a future. I think you're the only person using it, dude. I don't like to start using anything, Lynn, until it's on its way out. Yeah. I mean, I'm not talking about how great it is, but it's not bad. Although Fist 007 thinks it's fantastic. Let's see. Ali USA says in 1 week the USA will reach 85,000 cases. Yeah, and you know what the thing about those numbers is that, like for me, I don't know how many the UK has had. We just have the confirmed cases, which means people have to be ill and go to the hospital in order to be tested. And there's other people who are just, they're just like have, very low symptoms and are self-isolating that we will never know. Like me. Maybe I have it. I don't know. But I really don't think so. But like, how would I know? How would I know? Cody for Jip says, have your YouTube's earnings increased lately? Your subscriber count increased, and so did your audience. No, I think we're like not quite at 30,000 subscribers. Like, I don't think so. I haven't checked. Like, it seems like it's gone to a crawl. Like, and this week, one of the things that's bothered me all week is like I want to get a YouTube video. I need to get some more videos out because it's not like I don't have stuff to talk about. It's just been difficult with all the other things going on, and think about where do I set up the camera and all that kind of stuff. And I missed it. So like today. Today I actually I filmed a video this morning and I felt fantastic. I felt like, and it was, I didn't really have anything to say. Just like, I'm just isolated. This is what I'm doing. This is how things are working. But it felt really good to do it. So, but now I have, and by the way, because I said during the pandemic, it was demonetized immediately, but I kind of thought it would be, which is fine, right? It was just more just to, put something out there to feel relevant, right? I just want to feel relevant. I'm very shallow. Very shallow. Did you put a video out? Like, JRG app says, hey, Eric, do you think it's better to make a lot of wallpaper apps about one thing or just one big wallpaper app about a lot of things? I think one big wallpaper app, especially on the App Store, because first of all, you're going to have a lot. You could focus all your energy on it, and if you have too many of a similar application, Apple will start to reject it as by guideline 4.3 saying you're spamming the app market. So that's one of the things I did. My whole thing was language learning apps. I had lots of different language learning apps, right? Thinking they're all meant for different audiences, But they said these are all too similar. You need to combine them into one app, which was stupid. It's still stupid. I still say it's stupid, and I still haven't done a container app for it because it's stupid. But that's just something you're going to run into. So if you think about it from the beginning, thinking do one application, you have to think about the different marketing opportunities that go into it. So even if you did like a different, even if you did like a different, like Facebook marketing for stuff like that, you could do that. I mean, like, if you have different audiences, you do Facebook ads targeting those different audiences, but you want them to come back into that same thing. The added benefit is all the reviews you get, all the backlinks you get, everything else like that, you're going to have towards one application. So you'll have one juggernaut of an application so that every time you get a new review or a new download, then it will help increase the rankings because you'll have one thing to think about. So, and if anybody disagrees with me, let me know. But just like having multiple apps is not been easy, especially on the whole Apple side. Leo Fonseca says, Eric said earlier today you should try to produce a Corona app. You should try to get it. Will just get auto rejected. Yeah, there was like somebody sent me an email last week saying all that stuff, and that was I wanted to do a video last week about that, and I just ended up talking about it in the live stream, and I talked about it today where they said their app there was completely rejected, immediately rejected, and I said, do you mind if I share this email on a video? And they said, came back and said, I don't understand, how's that going to help me? I'm like, it's going to help other developers, right? You know, it's like, it was kind of a, and then, so it was kind of annoyed me, you know, like, how's that going to help me? How you making a video going to help me? I don't know, it's my job to help you. Like, you know, but other people, we should all know. So as a warning, I'm sure there's somebody out there, like after Trump was elected, everybody had their, like, well, not everybody, loads of people have their Trump game as if because they were being edgy and new, but it was like everybody had the same idea. And I'm sure there's loads of people. I wonder how many apps are getting out there saying Corona Smash or Corona whatever, or COVID Dash or whatever. I'm sure there's loads of people putting reskin apps out there that are just like really distasteful. Cord Funk says, I'm not saying to make a Corona cam. I'm saying make it a business application. Did I miss a comment over here? I may have done, because I'm missing when you guys are talking to each other. Let's see. Say making a business app. Yeah, I think it's yeah, I think helping businesses adapt after the thing would be good. I think it's just, you know, I think it's streamlining processes more than saying this is the virus application. But it would be more like, it'd be more subtle than that, you know. Like, it's almost like after 9/11 when they talked about how bad communications were between the CIA, FBI, and all the different U.S. government branches, and they streamlined all that. I think there's probably a similar situation here where they're going to look at things where they're thinking that wasn't as efficient as we thought it should be. Rafael Rodriguez says, this is how Ionic begins. Hi, Rafael. In just, the Ionic email begins. In just over 1 week's time, Apple will be injecting new apps using UI WebView. That's different. We wanted to reach out with details on how to update your Ionic apps. So yeah, this is something that I noticed because we do have a few apps that are using UI WebView and So the alternative is WK WebView. So it's not like they're saying they're going to start rejecting all Ionic web apps. What they're saying is the UI WebView. So it's years ago that they started using WK WebView, but every time I would get a problem with something, I go, let's switch to see if it works on UI WebView, and you're like troubleshooting. So I do have a few that are still using UI WebView, but that should be superseded by WK WebView. So it's not just the same for Ionic applications. It's also anywhere where you have a WebView within an app. Blasdils says, if I make an app using a library that gets info from a site, would it be legal? Example, there's a library that returns NBA games from NBA site, and I display it on my app, and this library is not it's official. I don't think it would be. I mean, if it's NBA games, if it's scores, then I don't know how they would know where you got that information from. I mean, you could have somebody just keying it in. But I think it probably would be. Fist 007 says, what are you drinking? I don't know, what you got? I'm drinking water. I have a bottle of water here because I knew that I got water and tissues because I knew that I was gonna, there's a possibility that I'm gonna have like a coughing fit in the middle of all this. But I've been doing pretty good. Um, okay, now that you're writing code in modern C sharp, how do you compare it with other language? What do you have to write into? So, uh, in modern C sharp, so I used C sharp before. I think a lot of things are like a lot of things I really liked about C sharp were things that made it less rigid, like using link. Using link is something I thought was really good. Using the using var to instantiate your variables instead of the actual thing. So when all that stuff started to come in, and this was years ago when that started to come in, that made it more fluid and more flexible, the same way JavaScript has been. Now JavaScript is fluid and flexible, but you don't have type safety and it's not compiled. So so there's a lot of things I really liked about JavaScript, and I still do, where you could just like you could load some, you could load up an array of JSON objects, and as you're looping through it, you could just like I say, you could add a property to each object to say is processed equals true, right? And it will work. You don't have to go back into the core library and declare that property and all that kind of stuff, and have your getters and your setters and your I notify property, whatever, I notify property change, all that kind of stuff. So that's something that I miss about that. That's something that I don't like about structured rigid languages. And I think as the things that made C sharp easier, or the things that made it better were the things that made it more fluid and easier to understand. This is just my opinion. You could disagree with me. Like if you're like, screw you, Eric, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, maybe. But like the nice thing about having JavaScript is it's dynamic and it's fluid and that kind of stuff as a language. So that's something that I find a little bit more difficult getting back into. And even stuff like the await keyword, like one of the difficult things back in the day, back into my Silverlight days, using asynchronous programming is what I have to have declare event handlers for every time I do the asynchronous stuff. So you'd have event handlers here, there. So now you have the await keyword, which makes things easier, but also kind of, it's kind of weird the way all that works. So, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm a fan of C sharp, but there's some things that I prefer in JavaScript. That's my personal opinion. I'm not putting you off, Fist007. I know you love it, and I think that's great. Dimitar Milken says, I like the new option with the comments. I think the live goes way better smooth like that. Keep up the great content, Eric, and stay safe. Thanks, Dimitar. Yeah, I like this. This is easier. This is much easier. Top Video says, I want to create a reward app that pay users PayPal money for watching ads. Is it legal? No. Wait, hang on a second. That pays them money for watching ads. I don't know. I don't think so. Is it? Because that's what rewarded ads are, is watching an ad to unlock something. But I don't know about paying them money. Because to be honest with you, I don't know how because you watching a rewarded ad, you would get maybe 3 cents, and then you give them money. I mean, what would you give them? I think it's I think I don't think the economy would work on that unless I'm not thinking about something right here. Oh, by the way, before we get too late into this live stream, I know we're only at the beginning. So, but just to let you guys know, it is daylight savings time this weekend in the UK. So next week we're setting the clocks ahead. So we're still doing it at 5 p.m. UK time, but it'll be British Standard Time. So it'll be off by an hour next week for those of you guys who are not in the UK. The Knowledge Mixture says, is that any benefit to uploading applications on Play Store without Google Ads, including for earning money? Is there any benefit without Google Ads for include? I mean, ads I think they're getting tighter on ads because of all the fraud and everything out there. So I think if you can do, I always think if you could do an app where you don't need to use ads and you could get them using your in-app purchase, that sounds way better. Right, I think you could do a better job. You have a better user experience. Thing is, like, not a lot of people have the money to buy these kind of applications, or these kind of in-app purchases. So And I've had clients say, I don't understand why people can't just spend $1 to unlock it, right? It's like, yeah, I know. It's just, but that's just the case, right? It's like, they will go into a shop and spend $1 on a candy bar, right? And but they will not spend $1 in an app. That's just the way that it is. Um, Spencer Das, Spencer, hey Spencer, how's it going? Nice to see you. Nice to see you too. Hey Eric, is ASO working for you with the new apps? At the moment, no. We're still kind of reeling from the Google suspension on iOS. I haven't, yeah. I think I've been kicked. I've been kicked and punched by both Google and Apple recently, and I'm just, I need to get on that. So let's see. Matthew Creek says, anyone else got a low CPC for January and February? Um, yeah, usually it does drop off because Christmas it goes. Usually Christmas time it goes up, and we should see a drop in those months. Should be launching news app sometime soon. Cool. Silax does say smash the like button as we knew he would. He, she, maybe. Zachariah TS says it's okay to have a regular job as a developer. It will give you time to be creative and 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 think about what you developed last night and get plans for what's coming. Yeah, that's why I think so. Like when writers get jobs, they try to become advertisers so they can use those skills rather than to become bus drivers, right? It's like if you get a job as a developer, then you can keep working on those skills and it's something in your wheelhouse. And a lot of times, there's been a lot of times where we've been under contract where I learned something that we use in one of my own projects. Not like plagiarizing, like I'm stealing their idea, but like a bit of code or something, or a way something works. Phil J says, with your son living with you, what does he think about you live streaming in the house? And that was it. I think he's fine with it. He's I think one of the things was I was gonna do this in the kitchen where my desk is. So one of the things I did is I moved my desk out of the other room into the kitchen, and you don't want to be walking around in the background trying to make like crawling past and everything, which I totally get. Right? Every time you walk by, you say, "Who's that?" so I just do it in the bedroom. And I was gonna put the poster up, the Overpass poster, which I took off my office wall, but the blue tag's all worn out and everything. But I think he's okay with it. I think he probably prefers me do it in here than in the living room where he is. Spencer says, I just bang out apps that will increase my chances of getting an app that makes money, or do you think would be better to do work on one? I always said that you should do more than one, and then Apple started to crack down on multiple apps. So I think it's better if you. I think it'd be better if you work on one, or just a couple, right? Because they my whole thing was if this app is only making me if it's only making me $1 a day, then I just need 100 just like it, right? So but then after a while, that really didn't pan out that way, especially on the Apple side. They started saying these apps are too similar. You need to combine them into one app, even though they weren't that similar. And I still contend that I'm still bitter. Let's see. Google uses. Can you describe us your workstation setup, primary on OS, IDE, etc.? So right now, that's one thing. I'm on this little table, right? I'm on my desk, but I'm on this little table. I'm just leaning forward. I'm old man Ruli, with his virus sitting in his flat. So right now I'm on my MacBook. My MacBook's my primary computer. It's an old MacBook. It's a early 2013 MacBook. Every so often I think about getting a new MacBook, but you know what? I didn't want to get a MacBook to begin with, but for iOS development I did. So that's what I'm on now. I usually have two other monitors connected to it. So I have a standing desk. And again, if you saw the video today, I was in front of my desk. I have a Veridesk where you lift it up so I can stand up at my desk when I want to, which is usually what I do when I do meetings or Zoom meetings and stuff like that. It just helps me be able to walk around. A lot of times I do live streams when I'm standing up. And then I've got like external hard drives, everything. I've got like several terabytes of, I think I got 12 terabytes of hard drive space connected for backups and stuff like that, and videos and stuff. But yeah, right now I'm just on my laptop. A laptop in my bedroom. Let's see. Fist007, have a look at my app. It's Android only, but I made it with Xamarin. And tell me what you think about the UI. Easy Balance Manager. You reviewed it 12 weeks ago. Easy Balance Manager. Okay, so should we have a look at that? Let's try that. We haven't done a screen share on this new software yet, so See how this goes. Let's see. Easy Balance Manager. Oh yeah, we did look at that. I remember that. So let's see. Play on Google.com. All right. I've got this weird thing where I got all these. You can't see them, but I got all these things covering up my screen. Let's see. Easy Balance Manager. Was it this one? Fist 007. Which one was it? Was it? So it was this one, right? I'm assuming it's this one. Okay, yeah, so we'll come back to this. Where was I? Where was I? The knowledge mixture says, so far I see developers, they are just so serious and in deep tension all the time. We like to brood. Because being a developer is not really easy. It's a 24-hour job. But my opinion has changed now. You're a developer and looks so happy. I'm not, you catch me at my moments. Like, Dad, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Like, you're like, that was like I can't say Tuesday. Like I said, Tuesday was a day where I was at my computer, I was working, and I'm struggling with something. I'm recompiling. This should work. Why is this not working? Right? I'm getting to the end of the day, and my all I have to do is say at the end of the day is, oh, I couldn't get this thing to work, right? And it was like at the point you get to a point where it's just like you just want to tear your hair out, right? Thinking, I'm not making, my progress on this is really bad. And like I said, I was in the office, they could see me working on it, but I'm not. I'm at home, so I'm like, you got to show results, and maybe I get a little bit more stressed about that kind of stuff than I should. But no, we're software developers. We get to do the cool stuff, right? Like you know what? You could be a database administrator. Think how I shouldn't say that. I have friends who are database administrators, but I was like, dude, hey, how's everything going with those tables? Or you could be an infrastructure guy going, hey, how's everything going with the disk space? Yeah, yeah. There's like there was always the hardware guys and the software. The hardware guys are like, they never wanted you to install anything on the servers. Like like you had to clear everything with them to install anything. As a developer, you're like, can't we just open up all the security settings? Come on, let me just write to you, whatever. And when you have different teams doing it, but like I always thought that would be like a boring job, just like like because I always, and sounds very conceited and everything, but I think as software developers, we're the athletes, we're the ones on the field playing, right? And we're the ones who are building stuff. Of course, we've got people with their requirements, and we got clients, we got business owners doing stuff, but we're the ones who get to do it. We're the ones who get to implement it. We're the ones who get to look at something that's really well crafted. And even if you look at somebody, even a junior, like somebody who wrote their first program, who like they're destined to look back at it in utter shame and embarrassment and say, that was like such spaghetti code, right? They're proud of what they did when they get something to work. If you ever get something working, you have that sense of pride that you put something out there. In fact, a lot of times you'll show people, hey, check this out. Look what I did. Check out how this works, right? Because how many jobs people get to do that? Do you think when I was working as a teenager working at McDonald's, I didn't say, hey, check out that Big Mac. That one's perfect, man. That's But as a software developer, we do, because we're building stuff. We're making stuff, right? I guess designers probably feel that way, but we're that we get to create something from nothing. I think why would you not be happy as a software developer? I mean, it's stressful too. It is stressful, especially when something doesn't work the way it should, and you just want to throw the computer out the window. Jose says we have to talk on other things and not just the virus. Yeah, that's true. Sam Knight says, "Hi, can you implement the translation for my game? I got the Spanish translation. How much will you charge?" What, in English? You want me to translate it in English? I'm not a translator. I think that's the kind of thing where if you like, I did a video about this where if you go to like Upwork, um, go to Upwork and put everything. It just you have to, as a developer, you should code it in a way um, that you could translate. So if you use Android native, you would be the strings.xml file. If you use iOS native, it would be the plist files, which you'd have your translations in. And if you do your own whatever framework, you could roll it your own and just use variables and constants instead of the actual strings, and then that way you just swap them out at runtime with whatever the languages of the phone. The tricky part of that is when you have drop downs and stuff, and you have stuff that feeds from the database, because then you have to remember to pass the language parameter back to the API so you get the right data back and make sure that the data's there. But yeah, I'm not really a translator. Silak says, with the global economy getting hammered, will you reduce the rates for your current contractors? Of your current contractors, USD is getting much stronger, which is basically gave all my guys a raise. Well, that's good. That's good, Silax. I think for me, yeah, ultimately, I'm gonna, yeah, I'm gonna be, we're just gonna get by. Like we're gonna make it work somehow. Like the worst case scenario is, I mean, what is the worst case scenario for me? The overpass ceases to exist, and I'm begging out on the streets. I mean, I think the worst case scenario is I'd get whatever job I can, and I just make things work. Like in a crisis, you do. That's a as when things get bad, your back's against a wall and nothing is off the table. For me, getting a job, if I had to, I would do it. If I had to sweep elephant cages as a job, if I had to clean the toilets at Paddington Station as a job, and that was all I could get, I would do that, right? That's just but luckily that's what skill and experience does. It gives you all those fallbacks. Smash Ally says, love the stream overlay. Yeah, thanks. This is really good. I really like the way this works. I'm gonna have to do this more often. This is definitely worth getting this software. It's Ecamm Lite for those of you guys who I said it a few times. I should get a sponsorship. Fitz007 says, you should put the Overpass logo on the wall on some room that will act as your office at home. It will look cool on camera. Yeah, I was gonna do it on here, but like I didn't have any blue tack. I was gonna do it like last minute. Google user, I made an app, got rejected on iOS store. Can I publish it somewhere else to extract some bucks? That's really difficult. On iOS is really difficult because they're really, on like if Google Play rejects it, then you could go to you go to Amazon. You could even just host it yourself and have instructions on how to install it. And they could just download it, whatever. Or there's other app, Huawei store and everything. There's other markets out there, but it's the same way that if you had a product and Walmart decided to stop selling it, you could still sell it direct to customers somehow, right? But on iOS it's difficult because they have that locked down. You have to sign that thing with an iOS certificate, right? And you could do it. You have to do it through the App Store. You use an enterprise certificate to do it outside the App Store, but then there's still, they can still reject it, and you still have to go through their approval and everything. But iOS is difficult, right? We had a client who their app was rejected from iOS, and we were not able to get it approved, and we had to do the whole thing again as a PWA, which is yeah. I wish I had better news for you there, Google user, but that's the only thing I can think of. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Fist almost film. Don't you think that adding a dynamic field to an object just to see if it was processed is somewhat reflective of bad architecture? Just saying. I'm not judging. I don't think it is. Sometimes you just some things they are not important enough to put on the object itself. Like you're trying to think of every eventuality, and I like the fluidity of JavaScript. That's just my thing, right? And it gets a point where you think I want the most flexible structure and the cleanest code, And the more that I have a parameter that doesn't need to be, like a property that doesn't need to be a property because it's only used in one specific scenario, then that's something that I consider wasteful in coding, and it makes it more. You have something that that makes the code less readable, right? And I think it's we get a lot of I mean code cleanliness and good architecture is very very important. But something like in that kind of scenario, I think it would. So like another thing you do is have a have a parent wrapping object, a parent wrapping class that would you would load that into and have that where you have the class itself as a child, and then a parameter saying is process as another parameter. But that's thing. Uh, but I just trailed off. I have a habit of trailing off like this one time. BST is British Summertime. Yes, that's right. BST is British Summertime, which is not British Standard Time. like Leo Fonseca says beer sipping time. Sipping, gulping. Yeah, I don't have. That's the thing. I don't have any. I don't have beer or wine, but I'm ill. I shouldn't be. Really. So just have you thought of making apps related to the coronavirus pandemic? Nope, you shouldn't. I mean, yeah, no. Oh, sorry. So if you have any spare time, tell me what you think about the UI and animations in the next live stream. Yeah, cool. That sounds good. Let's see. Spencer says, "What do you call yourself? An app an app producer, an indie dev?" I call myself king of apps. No, I'm an app developer. I saw when somebody asks, "What do you do?" I says, "I'm an app developer." It's what I do, right? It's like, I have apps on the App Store, and I have apps that I make for people. Mostly, what I do is I create apps. So I call myself an app developer. Now, a lot of times I'm not the one actually coding. I'm the one as a producer, but I'm still the developer. I mean, I met a lot of people who call themselves app developers, and they never coded at all themselves. They just hire other people. But I do do the code myself. So I make apps. That's usually what I say. I may have mentioned it once or twice before, Spencer. How do you afford ASO tools if you have loads of apps? And that's one of the things. Like the ASO tools are expensive. Like that, they are expensive, especially when they limit based on keywords. And you're like, if you have more apps than just one, then you have like lots of keywords you have to look at. And that's one of the things that always made it not that made it not a good value for me. Bizwajit, how's it going? Cordfug said, "Man opening a bottle without drinking, then closing it again. Are you stressed? You're stressing me out. Am I? Does that stress you out? I just like to smell the waft of water." I think it was because I was like, I felt the coughing fit coming on, and then I was like, I was gonna felt the coughing fit coming on, and I thought I was gonna like drink something, and I thought actually subsided. I put it away. It's a power move. It's a what is it? Non-vocal communication. I see. Well, as I examined, you are making applications at homes when you didn't. You joined Software House. Huh? What do you mean? No, I mean I make. No, I have an office. I mean, I had an office up until last. So, yeah, I've never. Yeah, so right now I'm working. I'm working from home on a contract remotely, a couple days a week. Let's see. Tell me, what's your experience about joining a software house or better work from home? I think working from home is better. I mean, doing your own applications is better. Like making your own, like make no question about it. I mean, you do what you have to do. Yeah, you do what you have to do to pay the bills and make sure everything goes forward. But so doing client work, everything. But if you had a choice, if you had an application, if you have an application that's doing really well and you're able to live off that application, you think, I think I'd like to try client work because it sounds like more fun. It isn't. I mean, you have to do your own applications. You're able to make it work. But for those of you who haven't been able to make it work and you have to pay those bills, you have to do what you have to do. So, that's the kind of thing. We're all building up to where we want to be. Can you add the Overpass logo in the top corner of Ecamm Live? I could, but it was like I only just installed Ecamm Live just before the live stream, so I was just testing it out. And no, mainly what I was doing was moving this computer to different rooms of the house to see where I wanted to set it up. So yeah, next week, this live stream is going to be tight. Let's see, knowledge boost. I'm confused a bit. I'm not quite sure what your question is. He said, my YouTube and AdMob account is connected with the saved AdSense account. Tell me if for some reason AdMob account suspended, what will happen to my AdSense account because it's also hosting a YouTube account. Yeah, if your AdSense account is suspended, then that's one of the difficult things about it because it is both of them. So, Appavelli says, so if you're building iOS apps for businesses, they should have an app enterprise account. No, it depends on the distribution. Ideally, they should put it through the App Store. And every client I have, I recommend that. Say, put it through the App Store, right? And they say, well, what about our competitors? Well, you have a password on it, right? It's easier for your users to go onto the App Store and download it and then log in than it is for them to go to some different website or you add them to. So there's 3 different ways of doing it. There's going through the App Store and just putting a password on it, which is easier. It's easier for everybody, right? It's easier for the clients and everything. The next way is they could do it through enterprise distribution, where you can sign the application and you can make it available through a web page or something like that. So they'd actually install the IPA and go through it, and they'd have to go through settings and be able to put it as a trusted source. The third way is a volume purchasing program, which is now called it used to be called VPP, now it's called Apple Business something. I can't remember what it's called, but I did a video on it. And that's where they actually add the different iPhones to their enterprise account, and it shows up in the App Store for them. And the nice thing about that is that you're actually releasing that through your store, but you're making it available to them. So if you go to the iOS, or you do the app developer account, you can actually specify which companies you want that to be available to, or what their thing is. It's simple. It's easy. Last question. Dwight Schrute says, how much data structures and algorithms should I know before my first interview? 12. It's like depends on what the interview is for and what the language is for. And you know what? They're going to give you something that you don't know. I think I talked about, I did have an interview for a Flutter position, and they asked me about block framework, and I was like, the what framework? Like really? So I think try to learn it. Have as much of a well-rounded experience as you can. Right? A lot of times they'll say stuff like, do you use unit testing? Do you use code coverage? What's your code coverage like, and stuff like that. And sometimes you just say like, sometimes it uses like if you use it, you say you use it. You don't make up the things. I mean, you say I haven't really seen the point in that, or yeah, that's something that we've used sometimes, or that's depends on the scope of the project, all that kind of stuff. But that kind of stuff all does. So there's more questions here. All right. The knowledge mixture says, I'm afraid because last night I created an app linked to the AdMob. Then just after installing it on my mobile, I received a message that ads are limited, so I'm gonna remove ads from my application. I think just make sure that you have the test device specified on there. G. Henry says, are you working on Flutter nowadays? I'm not, but my developers are. So I'm doing some Xamarin stuff, but I want to do Flutter. Fistable says, I sell you pizza time, but the pizza shops are closed. So yeah, I know it's going to be whatever's in the freezer that I can pop in the oven. Don't know what to say. I know it's just time to, it's walking into the kitchen time. Jao Carrera says, thinking of the long run, if this COVID thing triggers a global economic crisis, how bad will the impact be on the app business? Do you foresee founders having trouble access to funding? Yeah, I think so. I mean, this is the one. If for those of you guys who have your own applications on the App Store, I think it's going to be, and if they're doing well, then that's you can't get fired. I mean, if you're making your own applications and that's your income, then you don't have to worry about losing your job. You're going to be about the same, right? You're going to be continue doing what you're doing. You don't have to rely on other people doing that, unless for whatever reason people stop downloading apps, right? And I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be, at least not because of this, right? I don't think that behavior is going to change, not like it is going into a shop or anything like that. So if you have a job and they're thinking about, because as even the contracts and the client jobs that I have, I'm worried as a, the worst case scenarios is, there's so many different worst case scenarios you can think of, and even if you're not, I mean, we could really go down this rabbit hole if we want to, but even if your app income doesn't change and you're able to survive of it, we could have hyperinflation and the price of everything goes up, because it's going to have the knock-on effect everywhere, right? Everything is an ecosystem. So hopefully this thing gets resolved soon, right? We could go really gloom and doom on this kind of stuff. I think most of the people are writing software, not data science, myself included. So algorithms are not that useful for people. Yeah, I think so too. I'm not I connect so many times. I connect to a database, I show it on the screen, I fill in a form, it submits to the database. We're not talking rocket science. The knowledge mixture says, explain a little. My AdMob and YouTube accounts connect to the same account. So if AdMob is suspended, so will it affect my business account? I mean, YouTube account is also suspended. I haven't had it happen to me, but I have heard that it will have an effect on both of them. So I but and then finally, Manic Metal says, what is the condition of COVID-19 in your city? In my city, I don't know. I live in a city called Didcot, and I have no idea. I haven't been outside, and I don't think it's not really in the local news, or at least I haven't really been looking. Drink that water, damn it. Oh god. Oh, so refreshing. Anyway, everybody, thanks for So everybody, thanks for joining the live stream this week. We'll do it again next week, but like I said, because we're going to do British summertime next week, it'll be an hour different. And hopefully I'll be in a better chair next week. Maybe I'll move to another place in the flat, or at least put the poster behind me. Or the other thing I was thinking about is getting the green screen out, but it's kind of cheesy to do it like, here I am at the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Anyway, have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for the nice comments, and I will stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll talk to you guys again next week.